Call of Duty is a video game franchise that has acquired a lot of accolades in its career of nearly 2 decades. If there's a list to be made of the most successful series, it's surely going to be brought up for a top 10 discussion. If you play video games, even if you don't play video games, it's in the area of extreme likelihood that you've at least heard about Call of Duty. Hatching all the way back in 2003 as a dub-dub-doo shooter for the PC, COD has maintained a healthy amount of relevancy to this very day. With hundreds of millions of copies sold, it's challenging to dismiss Call of Duty as a staple of the gaming culture. It's just a simple pick-up-and-play arcadey FPS. Find a lobby, pick a class, body some nerds, rinse and repeat. Or at least that's what it used to be. When you've been around as long as COD has, the accusation of becoming bland and stagnant is inevitable. It's an unwritten law that you don't use the urinal directly next to the other guy. You use the next one over. Just as it's an unwritten law that every game's formula needs to be criticized for being recycled in future installments. In my personal opinion, I think this is a little overzealous to immediately condemn a game's successors for their reuse of the same recipe. After all, that's what made the initial experience great, and as humans, while we may not be entirely cognizant of it, we find solace in familiarity. So it shouldn't come as a surprise when the developer's first outing is met with a bit of acclaim that they want to capitalize on the situation with a sequel. Since COD 03 was well received by the community and heralded as Game of the Year from multiple sources, the idea of making another didn't require a second thought. And while a direct sequel wasn't published immediately following COD 03, we got a few others beforehand. The United Offensive Expansion Pack and the console title Finest Hour, both of which shared the World War II theme. Then, the official sequel hit in 2005, and yes! It was another World War II shooter. And another. And another. Another World War II shooter? What more could I ask for?
Oh, hey, how about another Call of Duty?
Terrific! Sensational! What's it about?
World War II.
For some reason, the 2000s were oversaturated with World War II themed games. Battlefield, Medal of Honor, Brothers in Arms. I just can't get excited about another World War II game. Since the market was downright polluted with these types of games, it seemed like another blade of grass in the backyard. What do you do differently that others don't?
Oh, well, you can shoot stuff. Health regen. Hot potatoes.
Okay, so maybe the stagnation complaint was warranted. While familiarity is great from an evolutionary standpoint, it does have an issue. When you do the same thing day in, day out without any sort of novel experiences, monotony imprisons you. Time seems to disappear, and the days blend into one another and become indistinguishable. And that's what happened with COD in the World War II theme. They blended in. It seemed safe to produce a World War II shooter because there was clearly a large interest. Verily, I'm not one to tell a development company what they can or can't make. But what I can do is give my opinion. I can share my experiences. I can give suggestions. And for a game that everybody loves to hate or hates to love, I find myself in an odd boat. I hate to hate Call of Duty as it is now. It truly pains me to have witnessed the series go from one of the greatest FPS shooters of all time to a game that I can't even play for 5 minutes. So let's get started. Backtracking a bit to the objection to sameness in later games is a valid issue to a point. COD's early World War II titles aren't bad. They play as they're designed to. Shoot stuff up, blow stuff up. However, with the myriad of similar games that employed the same style and theme, you would have a nearly identical experience. Why would you buy COD if you already own Battlefield 1942? It's like living near 5 different pizza places that are similarly priced and taste the same. When it comes time to order pizza, you don't care. Just pick one. That's what I felt like playing a World War II game in the 2000s. I just want to shoot stuff. Give me what you got. It was understandable why people were imbued with discontent. They were bored. That's when a critical decision had to be made. Do you keep making a safe bet with a modest return, or do you increase the risk for a chance at a bigger reward? The concern with innovation in a franchise that has previously established themselves is that you run the risk of mutating the formula that your success was built upon. And since a game's formula is its genetic code, so to speak, this can have ruinous effects on its identity. This isn't something that's exclusive to gaming. You also see this in cooking. If you make a jus, you can season it with salt, pepper, garlic, whatever. It's still a jus. But if you add flour or cornstarch, it's no longer a jus. It's now a gravy. Crepes and pancakes, similar batters. Without baking soda, you have a crepe. With baking soda, you get a pancake, aka Big Booty Judy, Miss Thicklesworth. The task at hand was to create a new game that piqued the interest of the players while staying loyal to the fundamentals and remain identifiable as a Call of Duty. What additions could be made to enhance the game without jeopardizing identity? Although identity may be important to establish, I want to ask you something. When you think of Call of Duty, what are 2 idiosyncratic traits that make it stand out against other first-person shooters? Perks and kill streaks, both of which were absent from its World War II titles. With the series' most recognizable attributes still left undefined, it allowed for a bit more freedom to explore. With that, it's reasonable to say that Call of Duty was still finding itself. Then, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. COD 4 was the first to break away from the World War II genre that plagued the FPS scene and gave us something more contemporary. And since it was just a regular FPS before coming into its own with the addition of perks and kill streaks, the incorporation of said perks and kill streaks not only enhanced the current FPS that it already was, but it was here that COD established its identity. With the advent of Modern Warfare, Call of Duty became more distinguished and individualized. It was great! Not only were you able to enjoy the game as an FPS, but the extras played an integral role in pushing the game to new heights, and overall, made the game more enjoyable. Perks served as enhancements to the player, giving them a competitive edge, with the kill streaks issued as rewards to a player for doing well in game. And while the game wasn't without its share of issues such as martyrdom, frag times 3, and gunplay centered around the M16, it was extremely addictive and enjoyable. The developers knew they had something here. It just needed some refinement. Even the sibling team Treyarch knew that they had something. They adopted the same perks and kill streaks for the next Call of Duty game to follow, War at War.
Another World War II game! Why are you so infatuated with the same boring-ass thing? What about it makes you swoon over this? The rain? The gray skies? Emma Garand? I still hear the damn ching in my sleep!
So Treyarch threw their hat into the mix. They were like, hey, Infinity Ward, we like what you did. You're really onto something. Here's what we got. The perks and kill streaks mirrored Modern Warfare's with additions and some removals. Treyarch dropped Eavesdrop, but added 7 new perks. Flamethrower, Flak Jacket, Gas Mask, Shades, Tossback, Fireproof, and Reconnaissance. Not only did they add perks that buffed the individual player, they added a handful of perks that were exclusive to the game's vehicles. Looking back at the perk list of Dub, you're like, damn! That's a lot of perks. So Infinity Ward got up and was like, Treyarch, that's cute. Now sit down! And that's when it happened. Modern Warfare 2. Not gonna lie. This game had me like,
yes! Get fucked, motherfucker! Bullets flying, people dying, perks popping, kill streaks dropping. Fuck the M16, bitch! I got the FAMAS. It's fam as fuck. The hell with the dogs, we got Harriers. Get those bouncing betties out here. We got Claymores, Slaymores, ACR, umps that got umps, scars that leave scars, tars that make tar, Russian pepper shaker, AK, BK, all day K, RPG, chopper gun, payload, AC-130s, big nuts hanging, big dick swinging.
this was the pinnacle of Call of Duty. This is what Call of Duty was meant to be. Everything about this game just slapped harder than your mom for being irresponsible. Nearly every gun was a deli waiting to serve your ass cheeks up at $4.99 a pound. $7.01 Canadian or $4.01 for the lads across the pond. Perks were amazing and the kill streaks were unforgiving. It was one of the best times you'd ever have in a Call of Duty or any other FPS. This game had it all. Okay, well, what did it have? If you take a look back at the perk lists from both games, you can see that they were in their early stages. The tiers were a little convoluted and in definite need of an overhaul. Infinity Ward decided that the tier 1 perks were kinda dumb as standalones. I mean, they're essentially just extra supplies with the exception of Bomb Squad and Flamethrower, so they consolidated every pre-existing perk aside from Flamethrower and Bomb Squad, birthing the Scavenger perk. That's efficiency. Bomb Squad got a promotion to tier 3 and became sit rep, leaving Flamethrower to be dealt with. They approached it like, get the hell out of here, bum. Our game is a Flamethrower. So it left to work on its mixtape. At this point, Tier 1 was a little barren. Because Scavenger needed some company, they worked on extreme conditioning self-esteem and it became Marathon, earning a Tier 1 position. Sleight of Hand wanted to stretch out a bit due to the overcrowding in Tier 2, so it jumped to Tier 1 as well, bringing not only a faster reload, but faster ADS. Previously, if you wanted an attachment like a noob tube or grip, you would have to sacrifice the Tier 1 perk slot. Not anymore. You can now equip one free attachment without surrendering Tier 1. Pretty rad. To take things further, Bling moved into the neighborhood, touting the ability to equip multiple attachments when one just isn't enough. Overkill was going through an existential funk at the time. So it decided to undergo a makeover, switched its surroundings up a bit, and jumped over to the Tier 1 with the rest of the boys, taking on the moniker Oh My God. One-man army. The ability to switch your class on the fly, even replenishing your ammo and equipment. Definitely one of the darker corners of the game. Moving along, at Tier 2, some classics make their return. Stopping Power, UAV Jammer and Camouflage had the love child Cold-Blooded, with Sonic Boom and Fireworks following along with Danger Close. Juggernaut moved to Lukenbach, Texas and became Painkiller. The rest of the Tier 2s were thrown out and they brought in some new recruits. Lightweight, faster sprint with faster ADS after sprint, and Hardline, a perk that provides a 1-kill discount on streaks. Lastly, we've got Tier 3. Deep Impact became the attachment FMJ, Steady Aim absorbed Iron Lungs, Dead Silence became Ninja, Martyrdom became a Death Streak with Painkiller, Final Stand absorbed Second Chance, and the rest were scrapped. To fill the space, they used Scrambler, which jammed nearby enemies' heads-up display and delayed Claymore triggers. Then there's Commando for that sweet no-fall damage and extra reach on those panic knives. Equipment was business as usual, Claymores, nades, smokes, now outfitted with Blast Shield and Tactical Insertion. Again, another dark chapter in this game's book. Kill streaks were no longer predetermined. You now had the ability to choose from a variety of streaks, and these streaks clap cheeks. Now I know what you're thinking. You're like, duh, Psyche, thank you for stating the obvious. I never would have known about the perks and the equipment and the guns and the whatever until you came along. I understand, but the review of what may be construed as common knowledge isn't to inform you of what Modern Warfare 2 had to offer, it's to remind you. It will help serve as a reference throughout the rest of the video. MW2 is the zenith of the Call of Duty series. It became the standard for what made a great Call of Duty, and sadly, no other COD has been able to fully measure up to its greatness. Since MW2, we've been taken for a hell ride back to Nam, the present, to the future, to a further future. I knew the Earth wasn't flat. Back to the past, back to the future, and back again. COD has definitely seen some changes since 2009. It's no secret that they tried a few things. Some were okay, some were abysmal. The current state of COD is a dumpster fire of a game that seems to hold its veteran fan base in disregard. It's obvious COD lost its luster, but where did they go wrong? I know that many of you will argue and say the series fell off due to the release of Ghosts. That's a fair assessment. The streaks were underwhelming, the game's map design was a mess, the perk system may have been too complicated for those who favor the more simplistic versions in earlier titles, etc., etc. You could also argue that it had an odd launch due to it being the first COD on the next generation of consoles, and that it didn't sell quite as well as previous installments like Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 3. Valid arguments, totally respect them, however, I respectfully disagree. I'll argue that the series began its decline as early as Black Ops 1. Now before I begin, I want to say that I'm only focusing on the competitive multiplayer aspect of the game. I don't give one damn about a Call of Duty campaign. So there it is, just clearing that up. So Black Ops, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a nice little retreat from the craziness of Modern Warfare 2 from time to time. The guns were decent, as were the perks. The kill streaks, while not as glamorous as MW2's, could still help turn the tide of a match. However, Black Ops was suffering from something never before seen in a Call of Duty, and that was the over-reliance on the perk known as Ghost. See, if you started out in the original Modern Warfare, you noticed something peculiar about the Tier 2 perks. The Tier 2 encompassed the series' most powerful perks: Stopping Power, UAV Jam, Juggernaut. These perks were the oligarchy of Call of Duty. They ran the show. Since the game was centered around shooting the enemy, Stopping Power was the most widely used perk to give your bullets a damage boost against an opponent. It also canceled out Juggernaut, which gave a health boost against enemy fire, allowing the victim's screen to be filled with enough blood to upset a crypt. Throw in UAV Jammer and you got some blips missing on the HUD, allowing the person to safely flank without being discovered by enemy reconnaissance. This was a very delicate balancing act between the perks, and it went unnoticed until Stopping Power's withdrawal in the original Black Ops. See, Juggernaut turned into Painkiller, leaving Stopping Power and Cold-Blooded to fight it out. Although Stopping Power always seemed to take the lead with overall popularity. That's not necessarily a bad thing. As I've said, it was about shooting enemies. Stopping Power made sense as a perk. It was so attractive because it aided in enemy dispatch. But it also kept Cold-Blooded in check. Since Black Ops did away with Stopping Power, there was nothing there to keep everyone from abusing Ghost, and the ramifications of this were severe. So now, you not only upset the balance of the game, you have turned a once great and simple kill streak into an unfunny joke. Furthermore, explosives felt weaker, and oftentimes you would need 2 grenades from your noob tube to lay someone down. The guns, notably the shotguns, didn't seem to slap as hard as Modern Warfare 2's boomsticks. These were hints of dilution that increased more and more as the series continued. And there's an issue that may seem trivial in regards to tac insertions, but I'll save that for when we get to Black Ops 2. Now, you've got Modern Warfare 3. Everybody was waiting for this game to drop, including myself. And when it did, I was met with severe disappointment. Assassin was the only perk that mattered, with the rest of them enfeebled. UAVs were now absolutely pointless as a kill streak. One gun ran the game, explosives were nerfed even further, and the maps. Oh my god, the maps! These maps were ass. Mega ass. Monstrous ass. They felt too small, too congested. You couldn't really find a place to call in a care package, which I think the developers themselves recognized because they included an airdrop trap to dissuade the enemy from taking action. Think that's gonna work? You think that's gonna work? Already got spawn kill like 15 times, shot in the back no less than 10 because my UAV isn't worth a damn due to assassin spam. Had a stealth bomber rain down on me like twice. How could it get any worse? What's dying one more time? I think I'm pretty decent at it by now. What the hell? Unfortunately, the development team at Infinity Ward fell apart, so they brought in Sledgehammer to assist with the development. Killstreak still managed to shine through. This time you weren't at the mercy of the most recent killstreak you've been awarded. You now could cycle through and deploy any one of your choosing with a nifty killstreak counter on the side. Subtle, yet great. Killstreaks are still relatively powerful compared to Black Ops, but now, fan favorites like the Pavlo and AC-130 require 12 kills to deploy. Previously in Modern Warfare 2, if you wanted an AC-130, it would only cost you 11 kills. The Pavlo was even cheaper at only 9 kills. This is the first instance we see COD begin to increase the tax on the kill streaks, making them increasingly challenging to obtain. At the other extreme, they introduced support kill streaks, which still allowed you to obtain kill streaks, but they would be earned at a higher cost due to them not resetting upon death. As the name implies, they were more for the team as a whole rather than an individual player. Hello, stealth bombers and EMPs! This was also the first game to really emphasize the delicacy of new players, claiming that they put the support class in there to give them a little confidence. And to make it worse, they provided you a whole point for shooting down kill streaks. Why would you do that? It's a kill streak, not a kill streak. You earn them by shooting down other players, not shooting down a kill streak. What were you thinking? Now in Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops, when someone shot down my kill streaks, it was annoying, yes, but I respect the player. You weren't rewarded anything other than EXP for shooting down streaks. If a person was willing to forfeit the SPAS 12, Akimbo G18s, Raficas, Rangers for a stinger, it says that person's playing to win. Like it or not, obliterating kill streaks is a thankless job. But when the person was on your team and they suddenly quit the game, you think, damn, I wish they were here right now. There was an unspoken appreciation for teammates like that. In Modern Warfare 3, if you get your streak shot down, you immediately assume it's some little turd running support just trying to get their stealth bomber. Final complaint I have are about the Juggernaut streaks. Why are these kill streaks? If you can manage to get all the kills required without dying, you're already considered a Juggernaut. You don't need a bulky suit that severely hinders your mobility all the while advertising your position on the map to the entire enemy team. Now after a grueling year of Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2 hit the market. It set out to correct a few of the mistakes that Modern Warfare 3 made, all the while providing us with a slightly futuristic theme. Now, again, to be clear, I enjoyed Blops 2. Pretty good game. An improvement that was immediately noticed was the reliance on Ghost was reduced a good amount. Now, you couldn't just sit in a corner. You had to be moving for the perk to take effect. This rendered the UAV practical again, but you look at the cost and you're like, whoa, you trying to break my pockets, bro. A lot of the kill streaks that were 3, 4, and 5 now ran you up to 8 kills. UAV went from 3 kills to 4 and change. A care package that was 4 ran you 550. A Hellstorm, which was a slightly buffed Predator, would set you back 7 kills, with the Sentry Gun costing 8 kills. 8 kills for something that used to be 5. That's a 60% increase. This is where COD made the transition from kill streaks to score streaks. Everything underwent a price hike to accommodate for the constant accrual of points by playing objectives, destroying streaks and equipment, assists, etc. Honestly, I think this is a fantastic implementation, but score streaks I feel should be reserved for objective-based modes, not deathmatch modes. This way you can still reward Star Slayers with kill streaks that aren't taxed to the moon, all the while still rewarding those that are playing the objective. The score streaks still put in a decent amount of work due to their steep prices. However, since the inclusion of the EMP grenade in Modern Warfare 3 and the Black Hat in Blops 2, you couldn't help but feel as if the developers were starting to hold a bit of disdain towards their streaks and equipment as a whole. It's almost like they didn't want you to get or use them, and if you did, they wanted to make sure they weren't on the field long. Another overhaul that took place was the class setup. No more limiting players to 3 perks. You got a pick 10 system. Mix and match anything you want, perks included, all for 10 points. In truth, the perks in Black Ops 2 weren't that great. A pick 10 system here didn't break anything because the perks weren't weighted as heavily as seen in Modern Warfare 2. This system wouldn't fly in MW2 because the perks in that game were highly concentrated. The tier system disallowed the combination of 2 god perks like Stopping Power and Cold Blooded, and they say Modern Warfare 2 didn't have balance. Blops 2 perks felt less vigorous overall, but you can say that was great balancing on Treyarch's part. And that's fine, but the further you dilute concentrated aspects of the game, the more bland it becomes. The 870. I don't know why people complain so much about this shotgun. This gun ain't shit compared to Modern Warfare 2 SPAS 12. MW2 SPAS 12 was a destroyer of life. The 870 would hit marker a body pillow. Overall, I think Treyarch did an amazing job with the game's balance, but when compared to Modern Warfare 2, it doesn't come close in terms of fun. Another issue that bothered me about Blops 2 was that it seemed to want to cover up players' mistakes. Speaking on what I said previously about what may be trivial in regards to TAC insertions in Black Ops 1, there was an issue. See, combat training in Black Ops 1 was a great way to get new players acclimated to the game. Go in there, learn what's up, then get out and get your own. You'd figure after you graduate from combat training, there'd be no more aegis from the potential slaughter that awaited you. But there was. In Blops 1, when you deployed a TAC insert, you had the option to cancel it out after death. So if you decided to drop it down in a high traffic area and somebody bodied you then camped your TAC, you could cancel it out with no repercussion. Since this removes negative consequence from TAC inserting directly into enemy territory, it removes risk and results in carelessness. In Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3, when you laid down a TAC insert, you were committed to that spot. until you either respawned there, an enemy destroyed your equipment, or you quit out. If you laid down attack in certain enemy territory, you knew the risk you were taking for the possibility of a big reward. However, if it didn't turn out favorably, you got your shit pushed in. Not only did Blops 2 continue with this tradition, they added something else, or removed, depending on your perspective. At the beginning of a match, you'll notice that the explosives are now disabled for a brief period. And you're like, okay, well, that's not really a big deal. While it may not be a huge deal, it is a small one. It slightly disregards map knowledge. Remember in Scrapyard, if you spawned on the big warehouse side, you could yeet a grenade over the plane and get an easy first blood? Or in Blops 1, you could chuck one over the bus in Nuketown for the same effect? Those were some of the earliest points of contact in a map, and they required map knowledge, which is indicative of being a seasoned player. So now with this, we see one of the earliest instances of COD taking away from its better players for the sake of evening the playing field. Consequences help you improve as a player, not treating them like a toddler or Disney princess. A final note with Blops 2 is that it's here where we catch a glimpse of what COD will become in the later years with copious amounts of DLC, which now not only include maps, but customization options in its very first DLC weapon, the Peacekeeper. So all of you out there that were pissed off about the newer game's shady pay-to-win practices, this is where it all started. Before we get to Ghosts, let's recap. Since Modern Warfare 2, we've gotten 3 games up to this point, and we've seen some changes. Black Ops 1 removed stopping power, which allowed Ghost to run rampant. It thus decreased the effectiveness and practicality of the UAV as a kill streak. Risk was withdrawn from poorly judged tac insert placement, which led to carelessness and discounted the incentive to improve as a player. Modern Warfare 3 continued with the lobbies being polluted from assassin use. It was back to gunplay centered around the same gun. The Modern Warfare 3 ACR was the new Modern Warfare M16. Kill streaks were now taxed slightly heavier compared to Modern Warfare 2. Support streaks were introduced, which again discounts the incentive to improve. I know you're all like, well, whatever, Psyche. I mean, I can get better by running support. Yes, you will get better as you play. That's natural. However, the incentive, the motivation, doesn't weigh as heavily as the assault class. Put the ballistic vest or the SAM turret in the assault package. Nobody's gonna be buzzkilled one-off ballistic vest and go, fuck! God damn it, my ballistic vests! That's a one-off a Pavlo reaction. One-off an AC-130 reaction, not some bunsy-ass ballistic vest reaction. Running support streaks just turns it into a race to get your stealth bomber before the match is over. Blops 2 threw their share of changes in. Kill streaks became score streaks. Pick 10 made its debut. Explosives weren't immediately active, and the perks were nerfed even further than Modern Warfare 3. In Modern Warfare 2, Marathon gave you unleashed sprint and faster maneuverability with obstacles. In Blops 2, if you wanted something similar, you would need to pack extreme conditioning and dexterity in your loadout, and it still falls short. To emulate Modern Warfare 2's Cold-Blooded, you needed to include Ghost, Blind Eye, and their weak sauce version of Cold-Blooded. That's 3 perks. 3 perks you need to combine to come close to what Modern Warfare 2's Cold-Blooded was. It was now clear that perks lost a lot of their vigor along the way. Now, we see many elements of COD were losing their potency, while simultaneously increasing in complexity. And if you couldn't see it, Ghost was sure to hook you up with some eye drops. Not really much to say about Ghosts. Streaks were cheeks, guns were buns, and the maps were crap. It was now time for one of the most beloved aspects of COD, the kill streaks, to finally catch their nerf. Streaks weren't as robust as they once were. Satcoms were now the dollar store UAVs, requiring more than one to be in use simultaneously to be as effective. They brought in a dog. Wow. A dog. I can't get excited for this. You give me a pack of dogs like in Blops, alright, supper time, boys! But this little watchdog, it's not exactly knocking my socks off. Give me a Predator missile for my 5 kills. Oh wait, you gave us a Trinity rocket at 7 kills that hardly does a damn thing. Even the Loki, the highest assault streak in the entire game, is just meh. The Chem Strike, the new nuke, was so much of a joke they gave them away in field orders. The maps were about as disorganized as a soccer mom's shopping route. A torturous mess that further complicates map navigation. And you added map dynamics. It's superfluous. They did add a lot of customization options, mostly in the form of DLC, but hey, they're there. The more notable change is with the class customization. The perk system did away with tiers. It was now a smorgasbord of whatever you wanted at different point values. Make your plate so long as everything fits on it. In other words, don't exceed the point allowance. Now this is where I'm torn. Don't misconstrue. I am a person that loves freedom of choice and wholeheartedly accepts change. And I think this was an amazing idea. I really do. However, this system doesn't belong in COD. Traditionally, COD went with a tier system to separate the perks. The tier system allows a good balance of freedom, but also sets the right amount of restriction. With freedom, players can construct a class to make them powerful, but the restriction would ensure that they still remained a little vulnerable. In Ghost, it's like they didn't want to be bothered with the judgment call. So they just threw in a bunch of perks, gave them a value, and let the players sort it out. It was just a hot mess. Given the game's spiritless nature, it often felt as if you were prescribing yourself perks for the placebo effect more so than their enhancement abilities. Off the grid, on paper, it's a great perk, but SATCOMs aren't as threatening as a traditional UAV because they require at least 2 to provide true UAV benefits. Resilience sounds great for no fall damage, but due to the game's slow pace, you wouldn't often find yourself in a situation where you needed to make a hot getaway from a potentially lethal height. Blast Shield, providing resistance against explosions, wasn't needed because by this time, explosives were so nerfed that the IED, aka Lethal Lunchbox, exploded more with flavor than lethality. You get the grenade launcher in Ghost, you run the other way in fear. You get the Modern Warfare 2 grenade launcher and you're like, I wish you would, kid. And what is this? You have Fully Loaded and Scavenger. They're almost the same perk. Why? Who in their right mind would choose Fully Loaded over Scavenger? Especially at the same point value. In the end, Ghost was just a tasteless experience. Alright, we're moving on. Ladies and gentlemen, the sci-fi era of COD. Don't worry, I'll spare you. Let's fast forward. Oh, wait, skill-based matchmaking, we'll use that. Microtransactions, we'll use that. Okay, World War II. Worst streaks in any Call of Duty ever. Yeah, that's right. Get the hell out of here, World War II. Alright, Black Ops 4. So listen closely. Modern Warfare. Pew pew pew. America. Blops 1. Pew pew pew. America. Ghost. Pew pew pew. America. Black Ops 4. Pew pew pew. Pew 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 pew. Canada. 150 health. They say they added it for better weapon balancing, but for some reason I just can't find myself believing them. It felt like it was more to accommodate the specialist abilities more than anything else, which by this time the specialist abilities were on par with the goddamn kill streak. Manual health regen. Why? Automatic health regen has been a staple in Call of Duty since COD 2. Why mess with it now? Why is it so difficult to mute somebody in the lobby? Earlier CODs, you just highlight their name and press one button and it's done. Now you gotta put in a government supercode to mute some wannabe Twitch streamer's horrible taste in music. Microtransactions didn't help at all either. If you wanted one of the hardest hitting weapons, you had to play the damn lottery just to get it. And by the end of the game's life cycle, every lobby was infested with VMP users. Back to one gun. Skill-based matchmaking and kill streaks that weren't all that great. Just calm down. Let's get through this the best we can and wrap this up. Okay, Modern Warfare 2019. No. Just no. To me, this was the biggest letdown in Call of Duty history. More than Ghosts. More than Infinite Warfare. See, when developers start talking about how overbalancing ruins a game, it got everybody thinking that COD was returning to its roots. But we got nothing of the sort. Their maps were horrible. Great maps have flow. 3 lanes, the right amount of cover. They can't all be too small or all be too large. There should be map diversity. Modern Warfare 2019 maps looked like they were made by a bunch of hoarders. Just imagine if these maps were in a dating app. You'd swipe left every time. Piccadilly? Pfft, I wouldn't play you with somebody else's console. But let them classic maps show up. High Rise? Firing Range? Afghan? Summit? It might be a slow Tuesday. Favela? Damn, bro, you looking thick! Claim to give us great streaks, but the maps are too dense with indoor cover. What good is a kill streak if it can't even kill? The Wilson? Why do you keep putting weak, manually controlled kill streaks in the game? The Wilson is nothing more than a soldier with wheels and a screen. Why would I want a streak that I have to travel around the map to find enemies when I can do the same exact thing as the soldier? Kill streaks should live by the Ronco philosophy of set it and forget it. Controlling weak streaks is dumb. We want to control massive, heavy-hitting streaks. Airborne streaks, not rob the robot with an attitude. A man turret? Really? Skid Row, Wasteland, Rundown, Karachi. There are some turrets, and they were free. White phosphorus? What the hell are you doing? Baking a cake? We don't want these weak, low-energy streaks. We want streaks that mistreat, maim, and murder. Not streaks that cause a slight inconvenience. The cruise missile takes forever to deploy, and by this time everyone runs into cover. The Predator missile? You're done. There's only one play style in this game. Camping. You remove red dots from the classic HUD, so why would you want to use a suppressor? It's pointless. The game's still ruined with Ghosts because you gave a stopping power to field order? It was thrown around the stopping power was a crutch perk, so they remove it, but you keep Ghost in the game? You remove map voting to keep people from quitting, but you forcefully disband the lobby after every match? It makes no sense. Imagine them as your parents. What is that? Modern Warfare 2 UMP? Give me that! Here. Have an F-2000. You'd hear them talk about modern warfare and their vision. There's something seriously wrong with your vision. It's one thing to be blind, but refusing to see is far worse. It didn't help matters much with how unresponsive they were to genuine complaints. Remove skill-based matchmaking, nerf the footsteps, dead silence and stopping power as perks. I like pink.
Oh, me too.
Then they dismiss passionate criticism as toxicity. And when passionate criticism gets labeled as toxicity, every critique, no matter how constructive, is disregarded and nothing gets done. Trust me, I'm a very forgiving person, and I believe that people are more than their mistakes. But when you've got the groundwork laid out in front of you for what makes a great Call of Duty, and you still can't get it right after 10 years, now it's no longer a mistake. It's now a choice. What is this? Why do you have Gunsmith in here? You don't need this. It just makes things more complicated. You keep adding more and more thinking you're enriching the Call of Duty experience, but you're not. World-renowned chef Marco Pierre White had a quote, and it's a great quote. He said, "The more you add, the more you're taking away." And that couldn't be any more true. Today, COD has so many needless elements that it's difficult to identify as a COD game. If I wanted large and dynamic maps with intricate gun customization, I'd play Battlefield. If I wanted complex and tactical gameplay, I'd play Rainbow Six. If I wanted a game where my role as a player is predetermined, I'd play Team Fortress 2. Or Overwatch. It's here that you start to see that maybe COD was a bit more than just perks and kill streaks. At a glance, back then, anybody could tell you that COD was all perks and kill streaks. You could get far with that assessment. However, there were two other pre-existing traits that you would have to experience not only in-game, but between games to identify. Potency and simplicity. Example, World War II's ball turret gunner versus Black Ops and Modern Warfare 2's chopper gunner. See the difference in duration and lethality? A lot of the game's potency was sacrificed along the way to make the game more accessible to the newer players. Just watch this.
Our weapons are a bit more lethal than they were in the Black Ops, the recent more Black Ops, and that helps a lower skill player get a kill when they otherwise wouldn't, have some success, and then feel like now there's a desire to get better and to get another kill. Our maps are a little bit more porous, and we want those players to have a safe place.
A safe place! Who the hell made this game? BuzzFeed?
Polluting a game with porous maps and saying you increased weapon lethality isn't going to motivate anybody. Because if your game sucks, why would you even want to continue playing it? Getting better at the game doesn't even cross your mind. Modern Warfare 2, 345 loadout was brilliant. The earlier streak in the game wasn't all that difficult to obtain. You get it, you're like, alright, it feels good. I got that. Helping my team too. Cool. Let's try for 4. Okay, nice. A care pack.
Like a fucking chopper gunner!
It gave the player a taste of what could be if they honed their skills. And to top it off, the 5th kill got you Sentry or Predator. Hardline was there for that little extra boost, but they still needed to improve by besting other players. And because it wasn't handed to them like a specialist ability, they felt accomplished. Great gameplay paired with great maps, great weapons, great perks, and great streaks at reasonable prices is all the motivation you'll ever need. You see someone cause the apocalypse in a room,
You want to do that too!
so you strive to get better. The more you work at something, the better you get. And the harder you work, the more rewarding it is when it finally pays off. And when you think you've got it, you can try your hand at the game-ending nuke. It was great. Back to the drab. Changing your loadout mid-game just removes consequence yet again, but it also makes prestiging pointless, which is why it's gone. Modern Warfare 2 incentivized players to prestige. It gave you another class so you could better prepare for all the different types of playstyles. It meant that if you didn't have the foresight to run a cold-blooded class when you ran into a hardline 2-3-4 user, you were screwed until the end of the match when you could make another class. Then, there's skill-based matchmaking. There's so much wrong with skill-based matchmaking that I can't cover it in this video, but maybe a future one. I will say this, it does not belong in public matches. League play? Absolutely. See, players want to go in and destroy a room. They put in the time to learn the game, got their battle scars over the course of their careers. The map knowledge, the gunplay, their tactics. Skill-based matchmaking throws everything away, because now you can't go in and decimate a room to exemplify your skills as a good player, nor will you get utterly destroyed, reminding you that you still have room for improvement. You don't have those moments in COD anymore where you're both inspiring and inspired by other players. With skill-based matchmaking, you're constantly looking in a mirror. Chance is the fairest way to balance a room. As soon as you start a game in Call of Duty today, you're already pissed off because you know you're gonna get every flunky in the room because your KD's a 3. You dislike the team you haven't even played with yet. Think about that. Skill-based matchmaking is a catalyst for negativity. Skill-based matchmaking is discriminatory and it goes against the idea of diversity. I have no idea how the hell, in today's social climate, this is seen as a positive. But But hey, it's just a game. No matter how hard you try, it's always going to be a close game. And when you somehow manage to catch skill-based matchmaking in an off day, you can't thoroughly enjoy yourself because you're now worried that your excellent performance is going to somehow handicap you in the next round. Did you get that? You're actually worried about doing too good. This makes COD feel like a Sunday. All through the week, Monday through Friday, you mind what you do because you gotta work or go to school the next day. You can't stay up or stay out late because you need to get to bed. You can't fully enjoy something because the next work or school day is looming about. The weekend comes and it's alright. Go enjoy yourself. But Sunday is different. You can enjoy it, but the thought of Monday's return is haunting, and it dampens the experience. I just miss Call of Duty. Modern Warfare 2 had a playstyle for everyone. Campers, rushers, knifers, snipers, riflemen, riot shielders, RPGers, everyone. It wasn't centered around one gun or one style. Everything wasn't OP. Everything just worked. Even as annoying as OMA could be, the user could easily be taken down with a taste of their own medicine. I know at this point you're thinking that I'm the biggest blinded by nostalgia Modern Warfare 2 fanboy you've ever seen. Believe me, Modern Warfare 2 had its problems. I'm not even going to attempt to pretend that it didn't. There are a few things that I would change, but very few. In regards to OMA, I would try out a few things before sending it to the 9th level of hell where everyone thinks it belongs. I would keep the 10-second swap time on the base version, however, it would not resupply your equipment. Once the pro version was made available, I would increase the swap time by 5 or 10 seconds, allow it to replenish your ammo and gear, but all previously placed equipment would disappear during the transition, needing to be set once again. Not only that, but once you decide to swap, you lose all mobility and remain in place until the transition is complete. And if it still proves to be a nuisance, then disallow it to replenish equipment. Banish it forever. I would give Bling a boost up to 3 attachments, make Scrambler a piece of equipment, and replace the perk with Modern Warfare 3's Stalker perk. I would rework Blast Shield so that you still had a HUD display, and now, not only does it protect you from explosives and stuns, but flashes as well. I would add trophy system to the equipment. Death streaks should not be a thing. Get them out of here. There it is. The absolute best Call of Duty was also the one that it was the first to reward a bad player. There it is. Not even ashamed to admit it. Gotta call it like I see it. So I'll just eat that. It is what it is. But Commando, you leave my boy alone. Commando was not as bad as everyone tried to make it out to be. It made rushing all the more fun, especially with a tack knife. You're playing the most out-of-control COD with the most hard-hitting weapons of all time, and you're pissed off because somebody got through your defenses and shanked you? Please. I miss the potency of COD. I miss the simplicity. Yet every year, we keep hoping for a COD that brings us back to something reminiscent of Modern Warfare 2. But it never comes. Maybe that's how we were supposed to enjoy Modern Warfare 2. Like fireworks. It shot up into the air, exploding at the apex. It never fell. It faded out in place, at the top of the sky where we will always remember it to be. I'm Psyche, and thanks for watching. Thank you to all the developers and all the players that helped make Call of Duty so great. I'll see you again someday soon.